Those of us that are not in the beta server will never get to know Hippolyta in her original form. They're already changing her. We'll cover that. Hello again, everybody. Welcome back in this DC Third Legion video. I'm just going to briefly cover the update that is rolling out here on September 24th. Some of the changes that are going to be happening in terms of like the anti-crime network, and a major modification here that is being done to Hippolyta before she is being introduced to the rest of the servers in the game. So first thing is first, we will cover him a little bit more further later down the line once his kit is out and we are able to see it in our accounts alongside with his legacy piece. But Swamp Thing will be introduced to the beta servers, so servers 200 to 205. They'll get a chance to try him out and see how he exactly works. The other thing that we can look at here is that he will have his own legacy piece that we can find at the House of Secrets. And not only that, but he will be in a banner where Raven is going to be boosted alongside Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy. So I kind of like the connections here that they made with Swamp Thing and these other mythic heroes here in the game. All right, a couple more things that are being introduced into the 200 to 205 servers that we can look forward down the line is the ability to change the color of your name. So you won't have to use color codes anymore. They reverted that option back, but now they're adding something else back where you can actually do it based on the colors that they are making available in the game. So that's coming in. Eventually should roll out to the rest of the servers. The other thing that is really interesting here, and I think that this is in preparation for the server mergers, is that they're going to allow you to change your league name. Now, it doesn't say here if this is a one-off, but there is going to be an option for you to be able to do that, especially if you're the Archon. And for some reason, during the whole server merges is, you just want to change your name, you want to change your identity, bring something new when you're forming your new league. The growth fund features those packs that are available in the game that are depending on the level of the war room. They're going to change that, so there's going to be a modification here where they're adding a premier tier. So if you want to get those, especially for those of you that are still advancing your accounts, that option is going to be available to you. They're going to improve the anti-crime network now. You'll be able to see who has cleared the upper levels, what compositions were used previously, what was the most recent clear, what was the clear with the lowest power composition. Just little things like that are going to now be able, you're going to be able to see, so you can kind of get an idea of what it will take for you to advance in the anti-crime network. So that's a nice little change there. All right, so the other major changes coming in the Sept is to Hippolyta. Now, most of us are never going to see her in her original form, but there were already indications that she was going to be great in terms of providing viability, especially if you teamed her up with assassins, right? Because she was going to be able to protect them, all right? So the way that her kit is changing, and it is intriguing. So here in Tina's shield here in the game, even at this level here. So what she was able to do when the ultimate became activated, it is that she was absorbing damage that the allies were taking for a certain period of time within a range, all right? And then she was gaining what they were calling the super armor, which basically prevents the actions or skills from being interrupted by other enemy attacks. So essentially if she could use the skills, you could use the skill. But as you can see here, she was also able to grant a shield equals, at least this is all red stars, equals to 850% of her physical defense to all allies for 8 seconds. So she was doing a phenomenal job keeping them alive, and this is actually now changing. So let me bring here back the note on Discord. The updated version is she will still be able to absorb the damage that her allies, the protected allies, are taking within that 40 meters. Now this has been increased, so it went from 30, 35, 40, 45, 50 to 25, 35, 45, 55, and 65. All right. So essentially what they're doing is that early on, you don't see the benefit as much, but once you start getting her into the purple gold, and then red, you're gonna gain a little bit more protection. All right, but as you can see here, one of the things that they're doing is that they are removing this shield. So that is the one thing that you will no longer gonna be able to depend when that ultimate goes off. So that shield is gone. They actually moved it somewhere else, but that shield is gone, so we're not gonna be able to depend on. The other thing that they added here is that they said, okay, she gains 100 energy right at the start of the battle. So at least you'll try to get to this ultimate a little bit quicker. All right, so that's kind of the compromise that they made here. The other skill that they're changing is here the lack of tyke. So in this one, the new effect, it says, at the start of the battle, Queen Hippolyta gains a shield equals to, depending on the star level, anywhere between 300 to 750% of her physical defense for 10 seconds. So then if we look at her current kit, it says here the Queen Hippolyta grants a shield equals to 500% of her physical defense to the ally with the lowest HP percentage by for 10 seconds. And the shield strength is increased by 50% for Amazonian allies. All right. So this here is going to be in conjunction with this new effect that they are highlighting here. Okay. So at the start of the battle, Queen Hippolyta gains a shield. So now she's also gaining a shield here. So essentially what happen here is that instead of her getting that shield from the ultimate, it's just going to be transferred to that lack of tyke skill, right? Now, the other thing is in the Gaze gifts here, in this skill, in the previous one, Queen Hippolyta was getting energy at the start, and then she was taking less damage from the absorption and less damage from all other sources for 8 seconds. And so what you can see here is that they updated this. So the new version now will take out the energy gain, but it'll give you a little bit of a boost if you can get her even at the white level. And they increased it by 5%, so less damage from the absorption, and then less damage overall from all other sources. So at least they strengthen her up a little bit in terms of this ability to take less damage. But again, they took that shield away from this part here, which would really have made her strong during the ultimate, and that they added to this other skill here. The other thing too is the energy gain. So the energy gain gets to the ultimate, and then they remove it from this skill here. And then last, the legacy piece is also going to change. So here in the previous version, at the start of the battle, Queen Hippolyta gained energy, right? And then after casting the ultimate, she then restored a percentage of her max HP per second for 8 seconds. Okay, so this was something that I really thought that this would have made her legacy piece really interesting to get. And in fact, I did get it in my account, mostly because I was intrigued by this part here, right? That when the caster or the wearer cast the ultimate, then all the other allies would then gain energy. And then when she would wear it, it's a way for her to get healed, essentially. But they're removing this portion here. So this is no longer going to be in effect, all right? So the way that part is going to be updated is that now when she casts her ultimate, she will gain a shield, okay? The percentage based on the level of the legacy piece of her max HP for 8 seconds. So instead of her healing, she's just going to be able to gain a shield. The one downside to this is that we have heroes in the game that can get past shields. So you need a healer now. There were some compositions being used that really did not require your hero to be brought in with Queen Hippolyta because she was healing herself and she was able to protect everybody. Well, now that's kind of forces you to bring a healer into the composition, okay? That's essentially what I'm reading into it. They did at least give her a little bit more damage reduction, especially for the low levels. And I think that overall, they just tried to accommodate the ultimate so it didn't look to be too strong, right? Where she was not only able to protect everybody around her, but she was absorbing so much damage, and then she was gaining a shield on top of it. So overall, I would say, I think that how people in the beta servers were figuring out how to use her, I think that that mentality now has to change, because the way that I'm seeing it right now is that even though she's still protecting allies, I don't think that there is that initial burst in protection that she was giving everybody, right? With the shield, the absorption, the super armor, everything that she was giving everybody at the beginning. Okay, so this all comes into play now as to how you're gonna form that composition around, right? Is it going, you're gonna put assassins and then hopefully that they can survive long enough for her to be able to do what she needs to do to make sure that she absorbs that damage. Not only that, because her legacy piece no longer heals her, now you're going to be depending on a healer into the battle. So I would say that those players that probably invested a lot of anvils on her to get her into the gold, maybe even red levels, they might actually lose out a little bit on their investment. Those players that could only get her to the white or the blues, I think they gain a little bit of a benefit. That's essentially what I'm looking at here. All right, but we will never get to know the original form of Hippolyta. So all we can do is go off the new kit when we're making our decisions of how hard we're going to go for her, or try to how many stars we're going to try to get her once she's added to our account. Some of you are going to be able to read here on the improvements. The one that I'm going to highlight here is that the anti-crime network now will have Queen Hippolyta, Ra's al Ghul, and Talia al Ghul in, and along with Swamp Thing too. That they're all going to be now members of the training. So they're going to be adjusting some of those lineups. They're going to bring these characters into it. And so we're going to have to fight them, and we're going to have to contend with that, especially for those of us that are trying to get into the upper levels, and those of you that are progressing through the game. You're going to expect seeing them at some point. They're also adding a second construction queue here. So it's going to be a free trial, apparently, just to gain the free experience at the beginning. But afterwards, you can spend source energy gems if you want to unlock it and speed up your progression, or you just then can unlock it permanently by purchasing the pass. Okay. Then lastly, there were some fixes that are going to be applied. Now, two of the major ones to talk about here is the excrement sticks. So the recharge skill now should restore the energy upon you defeating the enemy. All right. So apparently there was a little bit of a bug there where you were not seeing that. And then the other one has to do with the Joker Venom. So if the Joker fell, he was defeated, that Venom would fall off. Well, it was not intended to work that way, so the developers fixed it, and now you should see the Joker Venom skill still remain in effect even if Joker goes down. So that is the things that you can look forward to in this update. Again, the major thing is Hippolyta's skills being reworked before she's being introduced into the global servers, and then the introduction of Swamp Thing into the game. Thank you all very much for tuning in and watching. Let me know what you think about Hippolyta's rework in the comment section, and I will see you all in the next video.